guys. Welcome back to My Steps to Sobriety, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stefan Neff. I'm covering a wide range of topics, and typically we talk about the trauma and those kind of things that lead us to escape our reality, or try to escape at least, with sex, drugs, rock and roll, whatever is necessary. Today we make a little bit of we take a different tour, because I have got the honor and pleasure of speaking to Victor Briere, who is an Ayurvedic doctor, and him and his take on life, his holistic approach to well-being is such a core principle also of recovery from addictions and of living a life to the fullest, to the best possible principles. In actual fact, what Victor is doing is amazing and is what I aspire to, what many other people do. We are just having different, I guess, languages to talk about it and the different principles. And I'm so keen to learn from Victor today. So Victor, welcome to my show.
Thank you so much for hosting me. I'm excited to be chatting with you.
Oh, absolutely. How did you get into Ayurvedic medicine? How did your journey start?
Well, I got into Ayurvedic medicine when I was about 25. My journey actually started with yoga. Yoga and Ayurveda are sister sciences. So yoga was originally created to help people have basically experienced the true nature of their spirit or soul. And Ayurveda came along as the medicinal branch of yoga to assist people with their health and healing while they were on that journey. So they came together at the same time. Then Ayurveda basically became the major health system of that area of the world, which we now call India. But don't forget, that was a whole region in that time period, 7,000 years ago-ish. And Ayurveda, Chinese medicine, certain styles of Arabic medicine, they all came from the same roots. So I was fascinated with all that. And I wanted to have a career. At the time, I was working in real estate. And I wanted to have a career that more directly impacted, something that people cherished, which I found was their health. So I found I had the temperament for it. I had the mentality for it. I loved the wisdom. So I went for it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Was that a pure thirst for knowledge, pure interest, or was indeed the yoga already a healing part for yourself? What did the yoga give you? Because that was your starting point, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yoga definitely gave me physical healing for sure. There's no question about it. But it was definitely a thirst for, what am I really doing here in this life? What is there? Are there answers? I was a Western philosophy major in college.
All right.
So that was actually the route I started first, and just found more questions. And, at least in my personal life, when I started practicing yoga seriously, I started to actually, kind of to my own surprise, be able to start answering some of the fundamental questions I had about life.
Funny that is when you actually stop talking, shut up, and actually focus what your subconscious mind actually lets out. It's amazing what comes out there, isn't it?
Yeah, seriously, right? And but that was how it happened for me. I think it happens a different way for a lot of different people.
Sure. Oh God! So yoga and was that in California? Was that in the States where you started that journey?
I started in California, and then I traveled around the world, and then I came back to California and continued. And now I'm still in California, albeit a different part. But I'll soon be in Italy, actually. So that's
cool.
my next step. Yeah.
Bueno. So oh wow. So you're a world citizen, really.
Working on it. Yeah.
And the cool thing is that's beautiful, because that opens your mind up and your soul up to so many different experiences, and it enriches your life. in its own right. So therefore, there's no doubt your path will develop just as much as my path will develop. But we are both seekers for the truth, seekers for answers, and because we ask the right questions nowadays, our life will be amazing every other day. So I'm really pleased for you for your journey. But let's
Thank
go
you.
back. Let's go back. So yoga came first, and then Ayurvedic medicine came in. But how did it come in? It is. I mean, here you were on the yoga mat, trying to turn yourself into a pretzel, and you're getting better and better in it. But then what?
Well, the pretzeling was not something I was doing.
Which form
Yeah,
of yoga did you
I started out with Iyengar yoga.
uh,
And, there's this perception, especially in Western cultures, that yoga is an elaborate form of stretching,
yeah.
which I know you have a deeper understanding than that. But for the listeners, that's fun to joke about. But, yoga is asanas, which are the postures that people engage in, came much later in the history of yoga. Yoga began as meditation and breathing.
Uh,
And then the postures came for various reasons. So the way it's practiced now, where a bunch of people get in a room and do a lot of postures, is a form of yoga. But I discourage people from thinking that is yoga. Yeah. So, but anyways, that aside, I chose to take on a yoga teacher. And my yoga teacher was the one who suggested I look into Ayurveda. Yeah.
very nice. And again, this was a far more holistic approach. And that's
Very
really
cool.
the big difference between Western yoga, I guess, to a certain degree, where someone tries to show you postures and talks about core stability and things like that, versus really building a stability of your mind, building a deeper understanding, really, of yourself. And
Right.
that is the solitude, the serenity, the peace and quiet that actually meditation and breathing exercises and certain forms of movement will allow you to do. And then,
And the reason that you want to experience those states is so that you can learn to change yourself on a deep level so that you can enhance your life. So it's not quiet for the sake of quiet, so to speak. It's quiet so that you can see, quote unquote, what's going on inside.
beautiful. That's
Yeah.
exactly where you just actually I always say sort of jump off the hamster wheel and actually give yourself time to press the pause button and actually see what your body really needs, which
Yeah.
questions it asks, which answers it gives you
Yeah.
spontaneously, which ideas come to your mind. All that is part and parcel. And I guess yoga in its truest form actually is a path to allow you to strategically build that into your day, to actually strategically utilize that to become the better human being that you desire to be. So,
Yeah, that's what's called a sadhana in yoga, a daily practice. Right. And it's to cultivate that capacity in ourselves so that we can make conscious choices about our life as opposed to just automatic choices about our life.
exactly. And
Yeah.
I fall still foul of that. I meet people who really impress me, and I get into the habit. I make it a habit of doing things, and then other things come along, and I find myself again on the hamster wheel, more responding to external influences rather than I'm more the bearded lady in the circus rather than the ringmaster. And
Sure.
so that is something that I constantly need to hold myself accountable to. So now and you made it a habit. You actually have it ingrained in your body and into your routine, and that is so powerful. Therefore, it's not just a once off. You don't go once to the gym, have a workout, and say, "Yeah, I'm fit." And so, same here, isn't it?
But the reason we do all this work to ingrain it, that practice, is because what you said, the pull of the hamster wheel is very strong and it doesn't go away. It's not like one day it doesn't pull on you anymore. So that's why we engage in a practice, because so day after day, it's like, okay, I know what happens if I get on the hamster wheel, right? I'm going to do all my bad habits. I'm going to pay all the prices and I'll say all the wrong things to the wrong people and I'll sabotage myself again. That's like every human being on the face of the earth, right?
Exactly.
In one way or another. So the spiritual practice is supposed to protect yourself from that.
Which is beautiful, and that's what we are there for here. I mean, that's why we are talking about that. So thank you so much for holding the mirror in front of my face here. When it comes to Ayurvedic medicine, how did your journey start? And I say Ayurvedic. Ayurvedic, is that really?
Ayurveda, yeah.
That's right. So how did that start? So did you grab a book, or did he say, here, eat that, and or how did it work?
I actually watched a documentary called The Art of Being. And The Art of Being, you can find it, I think it's on Netflix or something. But it's about kind of how Ayurveda is practiced in the modern day and the very traditional roots of it.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful documentary. And that was my first kind of like thing that I did around Ayurveda. And then from there, I obviously started reading books. I went to school. I started living the lifestyle. That's the best way to learn about it, is to live the lifestyle. Yeah. Traveled to India a few times, things like that.
How does your lifestyle maybe differ from the lifestyle that most of your clients will live to start off with?
Well, I wake up every morning early, about between 4:30 and 5. And I do about an hour to an hour and a half of sadhana, yogic practices that include asana, meditation, mantra, and breathing. And then that gets me ready for my day. So then I'll start, basically working, more or less, which for me, the beginning of the day involves responding to some emails I got from the night before, all that. And then at the same time, every day, I'll eat breakfast, something light, with the exception of if I ate a bit too much for dinner the night before and I'm not hungry, I'll skip breakfast. So then, of course, I'm drinking a little bit of water. I take some herbal tea that I know what's right for my body and all that stuff. And then I'll go and I'll have my appointments, do my work, do what I need to do. And then I'll have lunch at the same time every day. There's a reason I'm emphasizing that. And lunch will be my biggest meal every day. And notice I didn't have any coffee. And I didn't smoke any cigarettes and, that kind of thing. So then I'll have lunch and I'll go back to work. I'll do my appointments. Maybe I'll take my dog for a walk if I have some time. And then around 6 o'clock, I'll have a light dinner, much lighter than I had for lunch. And it's all vegetarian, mostly vegan for the most part. And maybe I'll take some more herbs at night and I'll go to sleep around the same time every night. And that's the average structure of my day. So now you compare that to one of my clients, it doesn't look much like that. But it looks like, well, I wake up anytime between 6 and 10 and I drink 3 cups of coffee and I run to work stressed and I'm late and I have to drop my kids off at school. And, my spouse is yelling at me and my dog's barking at me. And, meditation, who can do that? I don't have time for that. And, if I'm lucky, I'll grab a protein bar for breakfast. I'll skip lunch usually. But if I do have lunch, I'm eating and working on my phone at the same time, like a frantic person. And then, I'll get home exhausted. I'll fall asleep for 2 hours, wake up. I'll go out to dinner, have dinner at 9 p.m. and go to bed at 1 because that's when I have the most energy, between 11 and 1.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So that is the average day of, I don't know about New Zealand, but America.
Yeah.
Right. Plus all the problems. That's just a normal day, right? Now imagine the problems.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's a little bit of a dramatization for entertainment purposes, but it's not that far from the truth.
No, it's not. It's not. I absolutely agree with you. There are many of the people I know, they live exactly like that.
Right.
So where does a healthy lifestyle that you practice, where does the change into medicine? When does a healthy lifestyle become Ayurvedic medicine?
Lifestyle is one of the three primary pillars of life. So any lifestyle as a category is either poison or medicine. It's one or the other. It's never nothing.
Mm.
Every choice we make in the day is poison or medicine. I mean, of course, there are some choices that have much more of an impact than others, of course. But if we want to get serious about it, yeah, all our choices count.
I love it. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, micro habits in my book, Steps to Sobriety, because it's really every single second you've got a choice to make. You get to make that choice. How beautiful is that? And you either choose to eat crap or you choose to eat good. You choose to hydrate or you choose to just run around like a dry crisp. You choose to exercise or you just choose to vegetate. It is all your choice. And I guess Ayurvedic medicine is highlighting that kind of holistic choice making.
Right. So the question is, why do we have so much difficulty making the good choice? Because that's the reality for us all. We all know that, right? It sounds great. It's like, oh, I'll just choose to drink this water instead of the cup of coffee or the bottle of beer or whatever it is, right? Yet there's a price to pay, right? I drink this water. I'm not going to get as much pleasure out of drinking this water as I will out of drinking my favorite drink that might not be so good for me. And if I'm very stressed out and live a stressed out life, and I'm not thinking about tomorrow and this and that, I just want relief. And am I willing to maintain this stress and sacrifice that temporary relief so that I could do the right thing for tomorrow? I'm not even thinking about tomorrow. So there are reasons why we don't make those healthy choices, but I completely agree with you. They are choices. So a lot of my clients come in and they start talking like, the victim. I have to drink the cup of coffee. I have to smoke the cigarette. Someone's making me do it. It's like, well, no, that's the first step, right? It's true. It might be very hard for you not to. It might cause a lot of pain not to. It might be a huge obstacle to overcome, but it is your choice. Yeah. So
true. Very
true.
So going back, I'm asking again that medicine. We are all talking about choices. We're talking about a lifestyle and a holistic approach to your life.
Yes.
When you now say I've studied Ayurvedic medicine, where does the medicine come in, or how can you relate to it, to actually from that's healthy to actually that heals me, that creates a new me?
Yeah, great question. So Ayurveda is very clear about what are called the three pillars of life. One, food. Not just food, but food, water, and sense perceptions. Those are all considered things we have to digest. So I experience something violent or disturbing, I have to digest that through my nervous system, quite literally. That's not a metaphor. And that has a major effect on my physiological profile. So what I witness in a day, am I witnessing horrible things? Am I witnessing beautiful things? Am I eating fresh food that I can easily digest and assimilate? Or am I eating junk that is practically impossible to digest? And then water or just liquids, right? Same idea as food. Am I giving my body what I need? So that's one pillar of life.
Yeah.
Second pillar of life, sleep. What's the timing of my sleep? What's the quality of my sleep? What processes are going on in my sleep? So why is that so important? Because sleep is the time our body does most of its rejuvenation and repair. So if you don't sleep well, not just length of time, but actual quality of sleep, then you're basically robbing your body of the time it can heal. And then the third is, the word is Brahmacarya, but in more modern times, it basically translates into relationship discipline, which includes sex. So it's not just sex. There's misunderstanding in Ayurveda about that the third pillar of life is sex. It's not just sex, but sex is an important part.
Sorry, I'm laughing because it's so easy. It's so easy to misunderstand. Oh, that's what you want to hear.
Right.
Rather than standing back and say, hang on, there's a bit more to it.
How we engage in our intimate relationships has a massive impact on our moment-to-moment health. And it takes a lot of discipline to maintain healthy relationships. It doesn't come automatically. And anyone who struggles with addiction knows that, because addiction is so closely related to the health of our relationships. Yeah. So those are the 3 pillars of health. And an Ayurvedic professional is trained to manipulate those 3 pillars. So you get someone who comes in, they say, I'm eating this, this, and this. It's like, okay, we need to change that pillar. So we need to make that pillar stronger. I'm sleeping like this, this, and this. Okay, I know how to manipulate that. And relational advice or counseling or guidance is massively important. So we got to cover all that ground. And that's very common to any Eastern modality of health, not so much a Western modality.
And I think in practical terms, that is what you're describing to me is very much also the foundations of a healthy approach to life. I mean, out of interest, I would also include their wealth, because if you're constantly stressed about money, constantly stressed about the very basics of survival, and that cannot be very good to you. How does that fit into these 3 pillars?
Oh, absolutely. That would come in the relationship pillar.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah. And but it actually shows, because there is so much that that needs to be addressed. You cannot fix one thing with one tablet and expect a magic outcome. And that's what we want nowadays. Everyone, oh wow, there's a new pill that prevents my fat being absorbed. Therefore, I will get slimmer. I will look sexy. I will have a fantastic sex life. This pill will change my life.
But keep going with that, because that's really important. So you start with a pill, because this is what Ayurveda will do. It's going to go to the root. That's what it wants to do. I start with a pill. Why? Because I want to lose weight. Why? Because I want to look sexy. Why? Because I'll have a great sex life. Why is that important to you? Oh, well, because I want to be loved. I don't want to be alone. Right? I want to be accepted. I want to be appreciated. I want to feel closeness. I want to feel togetherness. I want to feel relationship. Right? That's why it's the 3rd pillar of life.
Nice.
It all comes back to that. It always does. 99% of the time, not always. 99%.
Nice.
Right. And we compensate, we adapt because we missed out on that, or we have an insecurity or fear around that.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. And that makes a hell of a lot of sense. And that's why it is so beautiful to start on this journey. Because you're starting to ask yourself the right questions. And of course, you're taking the shortcut with your clients, so to speak. You know that you don't have to meander through the bush in order to find that path. Well, you have already been on that path. You've already gone there, and that is what your training allows you to do. So by combining actually the right, maybe psychological questioning, to actually figure out how someone ticks in their emotions, as well as below that in their subconscious, what drives them, what causes those emotions, kind of a thing. You're diving in there, whilst at the same token establishing new healthy micro habits, or big habits for that matter, like for example the getting up early or getting to bed at a reasonable time without a massively full stomach, kind of thing. All those kind of things. So it's ultimately a very widespread approach, I guess, to take tiny baby steps in multiple directions, but all the directions are combined to move you forward. Would that be a way how I could describe it in different words? Ayurvedic medicine?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. It's about rebuilding the appropriate lifestyle and Ayurveda at its heart is very practical. I mean, it's built as a medicinal system, so it's not just a philosophy. It was created with the intention to, look, this person has a disease.
Yeah.
and they're suffering, and we need to get rid of this disease.
Yeah.
And or it's your birthright to be healthy. So avoid the disease to begin with. How do you actually do that? That's what Ayurveda is interested in. How do we actually do that? Not like think about it maybe one day. How do we actually do it? So it's very practical. So if you come in and talk to an Ayurvedic professional, if they're a good professional, they're going to give you very realistic, practical, achievable solutions. It's not just like, oh, sorry, you're never going to heal because, you can't do everything. That's not what Ayurveda is about. Yeah.
Indeed. And you have to take one step. So when I said there are multiple steps and multiple pillars you need to address, no doubt about that. But again, someone needs to give you a bit of a structure, because if you try absolutely everything at the same time, you will fail. You will fail. There's no chance. So what is the first tiny, this size baby step? What will be the first thing to do? But what I like to do is, again, that is where your mantra comes in with regards to doing it regular. There is this principle of the 5-minute gardener. And the fact is that every day you do only 5 minutes, but also never less than 5 minutes in your garden. You will be amazed after a month how your garden looks like. Okay? Yeah. And it's the same thing with your health and with your mental well-being. Start with 5 minutes, not more, not less. One tiny baby step, and you will be amazed. And I guess that is where the consistency comes in. And maybe working with you, the accountability to actually...
Accountability is very important.
Isn't it?
Exactly. I'm accountable to an Ayurvedic doctor. So
right.
I do it because, the human mind is very complex, very intelligent, very tricky. And we need to be held accountable. I mean, in a good way, in a healthy way, right? It's not a punishment thing. It's like, look, I know that it helps to have someone who, because it's not just accountability. It means someone cares about you.
Yeah.
Someone's taking the time out of their day to make sure you're doing okay.
That's a beautiful way of looking at it, actually.
Yeah. So it's not just like the parent, taking their hand at you. It means that there's someone witnessing your life, and that's important.
And I always keep saying that the opposite to addiction is connection. And here
Absolutely.
you are. So the Ayurvedic doctor is, to a certain degree, someone who has been trained to connect with you and guide you in some really beautiful principles that are virtually infallible. It's virtually impossible not to get better when you actually systematically put these things into place.
Right.
And it is. And we see that everywhere in the world where these kind of things are. Essentially, Ayurveda, what you have described to me there, is basically a good rehab facility. The same principles will be exactly there, will be modeled there as healthy living. That is where, every single thing you said sounded very, very familiar to me, just with different words, with different things. But I have had the honor, the beautiful pleasure to actually experience 4 weeks of being immersed into such healthy living, and that completely reset me, and it set me on a path on that this trajectory is still going. It meanders because I learn things, and there's new trauma and no things happening, but it's beautiful. So that is you are using the Ayurvedic medicine the way you have taught me now is actually a very, very beautiful thing, and it some people will do really well because they are in tune with their own spiritual life or want to be, and therefore I guess that will be specifically clients who will come to you because they want to more go down the eastern route and more traditional kind of healing that has been around for many thousand years, and for a good reason. It has been around.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So no, that's brilliant. Oh, thank you so much, Victor, for shedding light on Ayurveda in its beautiful form.
Yeah, absolutely.
If people want to get hold of you, how can they do that?
I'm easy to get a hold of. I have a website, www.iiayurveda.com. So the II is short for International Institute.
Mm-hmm.
And you can email me at reception@iiayurveda.com. And I always like to give people a gift who listen to podcasts, if that's all right. If you want, hop on a Zoom call with me, completely no cost. I won't try and upsell you, I promise. And we'll go over your Ayurvedic constitution for, 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And it'll give you a kind of like a baseline to work with for the future. Because there's knowing your Ayurvedic constitution, it can make a few things just kind of very things you might have suspected just through common sense come to light, and it can be very helpful. So please reach out.
I might just have to do that.
All right.
I immediately want to say, my constitution. The question is immediately there, so I will actually take you by your word. And if you guys, if you're tempted, look down there into the description of the YouTube video and of the podcast, and you will get all the information of Victor there. Victor, I know you have to go, so thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciated your insights. I'm very grateful that you came onto my show.
Thank you so much. I really appreciated it.
Cool. And you guys out there, here you've got a very practical, hands-on approach of getting better, and maybe by looking after yourself. That's what I'm always saying at the end of the show. Look after yourself. Today we talked about nothing else. How much more importance can I put onto these fine little words? Look after yourself. I truly mean it. I believe in you guys out there. Stay strong. You can do it, whatever darkness there is at the moment in your heart. There is also hope waiting for you. And hopefully today we've shed a bit light into it. So all of you, look after yourself. Bye.